Are you looking for a project initiation checklist? Well, if that's the case, then you've come to the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to create this, along with all of the data points and activities that you're going to want to conduct as part of this project phase. Now, if you are short of time, I have made a pre-built, pre-formatted and optimized template available for instant download. There will be a link in the description down below if you did want to pick that up. That being said, let me now walk you through how to create this important document. So the first thing that I've done ahead of time is just given the document a title. So I've put Project Initiation Checklist in B1 and put some grey background fill, and I've also increased the font size. Now, of course, you can change the font depending on your preferences or maybe even your organization's branding. I've also increased the font size as well. But yeah, as I say, you may not want to use grey, but it does kind of work quite well. From here, what we want to essentially do is just create all of the different content areas that we're going to want to conduct at this particular stage of the project. So the first one that I recommend is activity. Next is going to be description. And what I'm going to do, by the way, as this video goes on, is I'll document the first row to give you an example of the data. I will then pause the video, bring in all of the other activities as part of this phase, and then you can see what it's like when it's complete. I just think if I was to sit here and type every single one out, it's going to get a little bit boring. But yeah, as I say, activity, description. We are then going to have category. Again, one thing I will say, you may not want all of these columns, but this is a good framework to work from. You may want to adapt this to suit your needs, but this should apply to most projects, regardless of the industry that you're working upon. So we've got priority, which is obviously against the activity. And the other thing I want to mention at this stage is we will be applying some formatting as this video is on. So let's just get all the columns in for now. So we've got assigned to, due date. We are going to want to have status, and I'll touch upon how we set that up shortly. We are going to want to include dependencies, because it may be that certain activities or tasks cannot take place until a previous one has been completed, as an example. Outcome or deliverable of each activity. I'm going to put in here meetings scheduled, because it may be that some activities require certain meetings to be set up. Again, the same thing could be said for documentation. So we'll do documentation prepared. Notes, because you might want to add some additional notes against each activity or the status or what's happening. And also, you can put last updated. So when did you kind of last update that activity, or when did you last work on that activity, as an example? So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to bold these all. I'm going to put the grey background on. I'm going to middle align, and I'm going to indent by 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make column A a bit narrower. And then from B through to N, I'm going to select all of those. So I held Shift down on my keyboard. The shortcut may be different if you're on a Mac, but I'm going to increase the width of each of these to about, let's go to 26 for now. So therefore, we've got a bit more space. Now, of course, some of these may not require as much column width. As an example, priority, due date, status won't either. Dependencies probably will, but you get the idea. What we've done there is just kind of bulk increase the width, and then we can kind of manipulate these as time goes on. Now, let me just put, actually, let me pause the video and we'll put in the initiation checklist items, and then we'll set up some additional important formatting for some of the columns. So I've pulled the initiation checklist in. So here we can see all of the main activities, and then basically some other accompanying data against them. So here is a list of activities. These are also been placed in chronological order. So this is what we'd typically be starting with during the initiation phase, and then this is what we'll be doing towards the end. Now, of course, you could go into further detail than what this checklist is showing you, but this is a good standard overview for most projects. Again, we've got a description. What I'm going to do, actually, before we proceed, let me just put some formatting on. So I'm going to select from B3 through to N15, and I'm going to go all borders. Okay, that way, if we were to remove the grid lines, you'll see it looks nice and neat. We're going to go back to home. So this is a good column width. What I'm going to do here is if I just select C4 through to C15 and wrap the text, which is on the home ribbon, you'll see it. Basically what it does, it just puts the text on a new line if it kind of gets caught out by the end of the column. So that's looking much better. We can see all of the content without having to either make the column too wide or, have to click into each item. We can look at some of the categories. Again, this may be too much information, but you'll see what the kind of main purpose of each activity kind of pertains to. So this could be useful if you wanted to kind of delve deeper, or maybe you want to expand certain elements. So as an example, you might want to do some more on your risk management, and you could kind of assign it to that category. We've got priority. So what we can do here, let me just show you how to set it up, is if we select E4 through to E15, click on data at the top, then click on data validation, then click on data validation. And in the allow, I'm going to change this to list. And then in the source, what we're going to put here is high, comma, medium, comma, low. If we press OK, what that's done is it's given us a drop down. So therefore, we don't have to type this all out manually each and every time. We've got assigned to. So as you can see, we've got different individuals here, different members of staff, if you like, or who'd be responsible for each activity. So you'll see that some of these actually, if you're a project manager, may need to be outsourced. So some of these may fall within your remit, but as an example, you might need to send this to a finance or resource lead if they're in charge of securing the budget and the resource commitment. Or, again, you may need to change who it's assigned to depending on your organization. Due date is going to be a date that you put in as you go along. Now, status is where we turn this into a checklist. So you could do various different things here. You could have a drop down, and so you could have options like not started, in planning, complete. You get the idea. But for the purpose of this video, because we're having a checklist, what I actually recommend that you do is, firstly, you need to ensure that you have the developer option at the top. Now, it may be that you haven't got this already. So to do that and get this available up here, if you just right click anywhere up here, but I typically like to do it over here, right click here and go and customize the ribbon. Then look for developer in here. Now it is in alphabetical order, so just kind of scroll down to where the D would be. And then basically what you do when you find it, so let's just say this was the developer tab, you just press add. Now I've already done that, which is why you can see it on the right hand side. Basically you want it on the right hand side and then press OK. So I've done that ahead of time. And then what you can do is, once that's enabled, click on developer, then click on insert here, and then click on checkbox. And then if you kind of just draw it, left click here, and then right click, edit text, keep pressing delete on your keyboard because we don't want any text there. And if you right click on it at any time, you can get this, and this is what enables you to kind of move it around or change the size of it. But I like to kind of put it a bit central. Then when it's in the H4, if you hover to the bottom right of the H4 cell, you'll see this little plus icon. Left click and drag it down, and that will just basically have this checkbox item. So basically the way this works now is, as you go through each activity, you just check it off. And that's obviously going to be very beneficial as time goes on. Now, dependencies, in other words, what has to happen for us to be able to move on to this activity? So as an example, we need some executive approval. We need the team formed before we can start setting up the project repository and tools, etc. So you can put that in accordingly, but these should all pertain back to the previous activity. Outcome or deliverable. So what this enables us to basically document is, what do we have to have done for each activity to be complete? You know, what has to be produced essentially. So we've got loads of different things here pertaining to that activity. As I say, if you do pick up the template, which is in the description below, you will get access to all of this. Meeting scheduled. So you could put the name of the meeting, or you could put whether you've done it or not. The other thing you could do here is you could have a yes, no drop down. So it could just be a simple, yes, we've set up the meeting for this task, or no. You've also got NA in here because some of these tasks won't need meetings. But you could, what I've done as just an example is I've just put in, you know, we've got a kickoff meeting scheduled. I'm actually going to wrap this, home wrap. And we're going to wrap this one as well. See, the next one is documentation prepared. So again, this could be a drop down, a yes or no. But again, I've just put in some of the documents that we may need to prepare as part of this activity. So as an example, this would be the risk register draft, the charter draft, the communication plan. So you get the idea. So by the end of this phase, you should have all of the key documents prepared. Now, in notes, I'm going to make this kind of larger. This just could be comments. So here you can add any additional comments or notes pertaining to the activity that is important to document that you just can't elsewhere. So it just gives you an additional field. You don't have to use this. And then last updated, as the name suggests, it could be that you created the business case on, you know, today's date, you put that in here. Maybe it's a week down the line, you open this document back up and you could say, actually, maybe I need to go back into that document because I haven't updated it for a week. You get the idea. So that, in essence, is the project initiation checklist. Of course, there's other things you can do with formatting to make this more suitable to your needs, but this has all of the main categories and data points that you're going to want to capture, and probably a few more. So I hope this video is useful. As I say, if you want to pick this up, there's a link in the description down below. Other than that, over to you, best of luck, and I hope you have an excellent day.